but it won't, so I can't. This bill amends the Education Act of 1989. It gives wealthy boards of trustees control over the employment of teachers. It gives boards of trustees in Remuera and Howick and Epsom and the other leafy suburbs flexibility and choice. It also gives them licence to pillage and plunder the best teachers for their own schools, while the less fortunate schools that struggle to recruit and retain excellent teachers will find that recruitment and retention will just get a whole lot more difficult. In this House, we must be careful when we advocate for the rights and choices and freedoms for some, that those rights, choices and freedoms of others aren't restricted as a result. We have to ensure that the rights, choices and freedoms of some isn't really an excuse to concentrate the skill, talent and expertise in just those who can afford to pay for it. We have to be careful that the concentration of that skill, talent and expertise simply doesn't just exasperate the inequalities in our system and country and entrench burdened and despondent communities across New Zealand. As it is, many low decile schools have to run deficit budgets to survive and provide for their students. And I asked Sir Roger Douglas how he expects those schools to have the resources to compete with wealthy schools for the services of excellent teachers. The vision from the ACT Party should be for every child in every class in every school to have an excellent teacher, because excellent teachers raise achievement. Bulk funding will not raise achievement. The vision shouldn't be for excellent teachers simply to be concentrated in those schools who can afford to pay for it, those schools that are concentrated in wealthy communities. Then when every child in every class in every school has an excellent teacher in front of them, the government's responsibility is then to provide the conditions where those excellent teachers can weave their magic. Bulk funding is not a condition that will enable excellent teachers to weave their magic. Those people who sing the praises of bulk funding from the 1990s always forget to mention the fact that those schools who opted into bulk funding received a hefty and attractive bonus for joining up, and therefore their allegiance to that scheme was guaranteed by a bribe. They received substantially more funding than was necessary to pay all their staff at the top of the scale. This bill is evidence that the other side of the House does not have a plan for education, does not have a plan to raise achievement, and let me say, reporting achievement doesn't lift achievement. Good teachers raise achievement. That side of the House does not have a plan to reduce inequality and inequity in communities. It does not care that their ideological beliefs for education will mean schools that struggle because of geographic isolation, because of socio-economic status of their communities, will struggle to compete with more fortunate schools for the services of the best teachers in New Zealand. In the far north, we struggled at times to get any applicants for some teaching positions. In order to attract the best teachers under bulk funding, we would have had to have diverted tens of thousands of dollars away from the curriculum, away from professional development, away from resources for the students to pay bonuses for teachers' salaries. In Kaitaia, the allowance for hard-to-staff schools is simply not enough to attract excellent teachers. The figures that we would have needed at Kaitaia Intermediate School to attract teachers, to pay them bonuses that would move them away from the big centres, would have been tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, I added it up, would have come to over $200,000, which was more than 2/3 of our operational grant. When I hear of some wealthy schools being able to raise $100,000 in one day at a school gala, I can understand why this is going to be attractive to them, because they can afford to pay those bonuses. For those of us who struggle to raise $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 in a fundraiser, it wouldn't pay for little more than a third, a quarter of the bonus that we would need to attract excellent teachers. This bill will harm educational outcomes. It will reinforce educational and therefore social disparity. It will mean struggling schools and struggling communities will be at a disadvantage compared to wealthy schools and wealthy communities. It will make it harder for every child in every class in every school to have an excellent teacher in front of them.
I regret to advise the member that his time has expired. I call Aaron Gilmore.